We're constantly told we can be anything, that we can just reprogram our minds, fix our flaws. But what if those so-called flaws, your anxiety, your need for total quiet, your messy desk, what if they aren't bugs in your system? What if they're actually features? Today, we're going to deconstruct the science of personality to show you that who you are is deeply, deeply rooted in your biology. And the key to a better life? It isn't changing yourself. It's about finally learning to read your own instruction manual. So let's just dive right in with an idea that cuts through so much of the noise out there. This quote, right here, it challenges that whole myth of the blank slate. We love this idea that we show up in the world as this empty canvas, just waiting for life to paint on us. But honestly, decades of research in genetics and psychology tell a totally different story. The reality is, about half of your core personality, your tendency to worry or be optimistic, whether you crave crowds or solitude, that stuff was sketched out long before you had any say in it. Now, this isn't destiny, but it is your map. It's the terrain you've been given to navigate. I want you to really think about this for a second. Picture that big, loud team-building event, or that chaotic open-plan office. That feeling of just meeting room exhaustion that leaves you needing to go sit in a dark room to recover, while your colleague, they walk out just buzzing with energy. Or that moment you see someone actually enjoying the very thing that pushes all of your stress buttons. Well, that experience, it has a name. It's called trait dissonance. It's that frustrating, confusing gap between how the world says you should feel and how your body is actually responding. And if you've ever felt that, I want you to hear this. You are not broken, you're not weak, and you're not failing. You are simply experiencing the effects of your own unique biological wiring. And this, right here, this lays out the central conflict and how we think about ourselves. On one side, you've got the cultural story, the blank slate myth. It's that really optimistic, kind of empowering idea that we can be anything, we can completely reinvent ourselves. I mean, it's the engine of a multi-billion-dollar self-help industry, right? But then, on the other side, we have the scientific reality, what I like to call the hardwired algorithm. This view says, nope, you came into this world with a biological baseline, a kind of neural filter that was already installed, and it shapes how you experience absolutely everything. It doesn't mean you can't grow or change, but it does mean you're working with a very specific operating system from day one. Okay, so how do we make sense of this operating system? Well, the best metaphor I've ever found is to think of your personality as a biological mixing board. Like a sound engineer's desk? All those knobs and sliders for bass, treble, volume. Every single human has the exact same board with the same set of controls. The difference between us, the very thing that makes you, you, is just where those sliders were set at the factory. So let's start breaking down what those sliders actually control. Let's start with the first and probably most misunderstood slider of all, extroversion. We always think of this as just being social or shy. But biologically, it's way deeper than that. Extroversion is actually a measure of your reward sensitivity. It's all about your brain's dopamine system. The one that handles motivation and pleasure. For some people, that system needs a lot of external stimulation, parties, loud music, big goals, social praise, just to get a satisfying hit of dopamine and feel, normal and engaged. It's not a choice to be the life of the party, it's a neurochemical appetite. And this slide just illustrates the experience perfectly. If you're an introvert, your baseline level of arousal is already high. Your internal sensitivity dial is already turned up to 10. So when you walk into a loud party, it can literally feel like you're standing next to a jet engine. Your brain is just getting slammed with data. Now, this difference is due to something called ARAS calibration. It sounds super technical, but ARS, the ascending reticular activating system, is basically a gatekeeper in your brainstem that controls how much sensory info gets in. An introvert's gate is wide open. An extrovert's is a little more closed, meaning they have to go find that jet engine just to feel fully awake and alive. It's just a different setting. All right, let's move to the next slider. And look, this one carries a lot of stigma, neuroticism. In pop culture, this word just means anxious or moody or unstable. But biologically, it's a much more neutral term. Neuroticism is simply a measure of your threat sensitivity. It's run by a part of your brain called the amygdala, your little fear and emotion hub. A high neuroticism setting just means your brain is exceptionally good at scanning the horizon for potential dangers and negative outcomes. It's a system designed for vigilance, not for negativity. And here's the absolute best way to think about it. Neuroticism is your brain's biological smoke detector. Some people have a detector that is just exquisitely sensitive. It goes off if you burn the toast. It alerts you to the slightest hint of trouble in a colleague's email. Others, their detector only goes off when the kitchen is fully engulfed in flames. Now, which one is better? Well, the sensitive one might be kind of annoying day to day, creating anxiety for sure, but it will save your life or your project or your company that one time there's a real fire that everyone else missed. It's not a flaw, it's a calibration. And this right here, this gets to the core of the problem for so many of us. We live in a culture that often expects one type of software. It celebrates the super extroverted, emotionally stable hustler. But many of us are running on totally different hardware. If you're an introvert with a sensitive threat detector and you're trying to run the life of the party software, you're going to crash. You're going to experience burnout, chronic stress, and self-criticism, all because you're forcing an operating system to do something it was never, ever designed for. The issue isn't your hardware. It's the incompatible software you keep trying to run. Okay, let's zoom out and look at the whole mixing board. This slide puts the whole shebang together using the famous Big Five, or Ocean model. We've talked about extroversion, your stimulation volume, and neuroticism, your biological smoke detector. But check out the others. Openness is like having a leaky perceptual filter. Your brain just lets in more novel information, making more cool connections. That's why high openness folks are often so creative and curious. Conscientiousness, that's your prefrontal cortex's bandwidth. A high setting means you're just naturally wired for order, planning, and impulse control. And finally, agreeableness is like the setting on your mirror neurons. A high setting here means you're wired for empathy and cooperation. Every single one of these is tied to a distinct biological system. So this all brings up a huge question, right? If these traits are so fixed, why? I mean, why wouldn't evolution have just made us all super flexible and adaptable to everything? Well, the answer is fascinating, and it has to do with the survival of the group, not just the individual. Turns out, your personality isn't just for you, it's for the tribe. The key scientific idea here is something called frequency-dependent selection. Now, I know it sounds complex, but I promise the idea is actually super simple. It just means the value of any given trait depends on how many other people in the group also have it. Think of it like a sports team. If your team is made up entirely of star quarterbacks, you're going to lose big time. You need defenders, you need linemen, you need specialists. Nature doesn't want a population of clones. It wants a diverse team of specialists to handle anything life throws at it. Let's make this really tangible. Picture our ancestral tribe, okay? You absolutely need the wary watchman. This is your high neuroticism, maybe more introverted person. They're the one who's worrying if there's enough food for winter, the one who prevents famine. But you also need the bold explorer. This is your high extroversion, high openness individual who gets a thrill from checking out what's over the next hill, discovering a new water source. It's pretty easy to see how a tribe of only explorers would get eaten by a predator they never saw coming. And a tribe of only watchmen, they'd huddle in their cave and eventually starve. Survival requires both. So your brain isn't optimized for infinite flexibility. It's optimized for something way more important for a social animal like us: niche specialization. Evolution locks in these traits because it makes our behavior predictable. And predictability is the absolute foundation of trust and cooperation. If the tribe knows you're the creative one, or the conscientious one who gets things done, or the empathetic one who can solve a fight, they know your role. They know how to deploy your specific strengths. Your brain isn't trying to make you difficult, it's trying to make you incredibly useful in a very specific way. Okay, so if we can't fundamentally change the sliders on our mixing board, what the heck are we supposed to do? Well, this is where the real power lies. You stop trying to fight your own nature and you start redesigning your life to match it. The goal shifts from self-transformation, which is frankly exhausting and rarely works, to self-alignment, which is empowering and actually sustainable. Let's look at how to do that. Here it is, your new operating manual, a toolkit with 4 really concrete strategies. First, and this is the big one, is trait environment matching. This is about consciously choosing jobs, hobbies, even relationships that are in harmony with your natural settings. Second is the restoration period, strategically planning downtime after you have to act out of character. Third is using synthetic systems, basically outsourcing the things you're not wired for. And finally, the foundation for all of it, self-compassion, which comes from truly understanding the biology we've been talking about. So what does trait environment matching actually look like?
Well, if you're a high-sensitivity introvert, that modern open plan office is basically your kryptonite. So stop trying to get used to it and instead seek out roles or companies that value deep, uninterrupted focus. If you're high in openness, a job doing the same routine thing every day will feel like a prison. You need novelty and problem solving. If you're low in conscientiousness, stop beating yourself up about it. Outsource it. Use calendars, apps, checklists, create an external brain to handle the details so your brain can do what it does best. This is about playing to your strengths, not just endlessly trying to fix your weaknesses. And this brings us to self-compassion, which is really the internal shift that changes everything. The next time that wave of anxiety hits, instead of telling yourself, I'm broken, try saying, my biological smoke detector is going off. Let me just check if there's a real fire. When you feel lazy or unfocused, instead of, I'm such a failure, try, my prefrontal bandwidth is low today. I need to rest or use one of my systems to help. You see the difference? You're moving from moral judgment to biological observation. And in that space, that's where your real power begins. So let's bring this all home. For way too long, we've been taught to see the fixed parts of our personality as a cage, right? A limitation holding us back from who we could be. But I really hope this has helped you see it in a completely new light, because it isn't a cage, it's something else entirely. This quote just captures the entire mindset shift perfectly. You are not a broken down car that needs to be constantly in the shop for repairs. You are a high-performance, specialized piece of equipment. The goal isn't to fix you. The goal is to read your own damn instruction manual and figure out the best conditions to deploy yourself so you can do your best work and live your most fulfilling life. And this is really the ultimate takeaway. Our culture tells us to be well-rounded, to fix all our weaknesses. But the science of peak performance tells us the exact opposite. True greatness in any field comes from identifying your innate strengths, those sliders on your mixing board that are naturally high, and then just doubling down on them. It's about amplifying who you already are, not trying to become some watered-down version of someone else. So I want to leave you with this final reframe. That trait you've always seen as a burden, that's your specialization. Your high sensitivity makes you a brilliant artist or therapist or editor. Your high neuroticism makes you a meticulous planner or a great safety inspector. Your introversion gives you the capacity for deep, world-changing focus. Stop seeing it as a cage. Start seeing it for the unique, powerful tool that it is. You were born a specific instrument. Maybe you're a cello or a piano or a trumpet. And for too long, you might have been trying to make that cello sound like a trumpet, feeling frustrated and totally inadequate. The work isn't to change the instrument. The work is to learn your instrument, to master it, and to finally, beautifully play your own music. Thanks so much for watching.